Okay, well, hello everyone, and thank you for attending the February meeting of the Special Education Citizens Advisory Committee. Um, my name is Jamie Anfinson Camo. I'm the Vice Chairman of SECAC. Janie Payne is our chair. She usually hosts these meetings, and she is here, but she told me that she's traveling, so she asked me to host the meeting for today. Hi, Janie. Um,
Hi there.
Hi. Do we have any other members of the CCAC board in attendance? If we do, please wave your hands. Uh, I know we have our ex officio board member Sarah Wayland here. Is there anyone else that I'm missing? I, oh, Bella. Anybody else? Okay. Um, well, tonight's topic is on transitions. And CCAC is pleased to have as our guest speaker, Dr. Laura McKenna, an autism and education advocate who will be speaking on the subject of post-secondary transition pathways for students with disabilities. But before that, I want to thank everyone for attending tonight. And I want to also thank our PGCPS partners from the Department of Special Education who are here tonight. So thank you all. And I want to thank everyone else for coming out tonight and attending. And I'd also like to welcome Michelle Blakely Tuggle, the coordinating supervisor for the Department of Special Education for PGCPS, who will be providing us with the special education update for tonight's meeting.
Thank you, Jamie. Good evening, everyone. Happy Tuesday. I have a few updates on behalf of the Department of Special Education. Our office, Family Support Center, in partnership with Psychological Services, is offering a series of ABA workshops for parents. The remaining dates are listed. There is one upcoming in March. Parents can register via the link here or call our office for further support if you'd like to register and participate. We have 3 remaining CCAC meetings. This school year has really flown by. The March 25th CCAC meeting will be a town hall. Very similar structure to our February meeting. The focus will be on social, emotional, and behavior. April is Autism Awareness Month, and so our focus for April will be autism and mental health awareness. And our last CCAC meeting, May 27th, the topic will be to be determined, but it will be we will end with another town hall meeting. If you have questions or need support, you can always call the Family Support Center, or you can contact the Department of Special Education K-12 office. The SICE assignments, which are hyperlinked here, are those central office staff members who are dedicated to each of our PGCPS schools, and they can help you directly along with the supervisors. We encourage you to join our listserv. You can scan here, click on the link to register. This is a great way to stay abreast of all of our upcoming events and information that comes through the Family Support Center. We this year have launched a survey for all parents to get your feedback as it relates to your experience within our PGCPS schools and IEP meetings. It is linked here. This should be provided to you at the end of every IEP meeting. It should be available to you by your schools or your child's case manager or IEP chairperson or facilitator. It is also linked on our website and linked here. We have a Maryland Special Education Parent Involvement Survey that is sent out by mail by Maryland MSDE. We want to hear your voice. This is another great way for you to provide feedback. We're asking all parents between now and May 30th to either complete the form online. It's a 5-minute survey. We strongly encourage you to provide your feedback, or you can mail it back to MSDE by the postage page envelope that they provide. We're also sending home a flyer with all of your students in the upcoming week. So again, encourage you to either complete the survey online or mail it to MSDE directly. And lastly, our Associate Superintendent, Ms. Trinell Bowman, her email and phone number are listed here if you have any additional questions or need additional support. Thank you. Now turn it back over to Jamie.
Thank you. Sorry there, I was having trouble finding my mute button. Okay, thank you very much for that update. So I'll just go ahead and introduce our guest speaker. Let me introduce Dr. Laura McKenna of the Autism College Connection. With a PhD in political science with a specialty in education policy, Laura has held faculty positions at Columbia Teachers College, Ramapo College, and Hunter College. She writes about education and autism for the nation's top newspapers and magazines, including The Atlantic, USA Today, and Edutopia. Locally, she organizes bowling trips for young men with autism and runs a Facebook page for over 800 parents, teachers, and the community in Ridgewood, New Jersey. She's also the parent of a 21-year-old with autism. Please welcome Dr. Laura McKenna.
Hi, everyone. Let me just start. I'm going to share my screen here. I'm going to do a little PowerPoint for everybody. Give me 1 second. Here we go. Hi, everyone. So tonight's talk is what happens after high school. Okay. Whereas I'm an autism parent, I know we also focus on what's going on right now. And the end of high school seems far away, but that can seem scary and stressful. I'm going to talk about it tonight. Hopefully decrease everybody's stress, because information, I think, is power. So the name of this talk is What Happens After High School, Alternative Pathways, Creative Planning, and New Opportunities. So again, I'm Laura McKenna. I have 3 decades of experience in education. I actually started off as a special ed teacher in the South Bronx in my 20s and loved kids and schools so much. I went and got a PhD and then taught, older kids in college, became a writer. And now I'm segueing into helping parents directly. I have my own company, the Autism College Connection, and I'm also now the vice president of the Cope Center for Autism. It's a brand new a nonprofit that is going to be helping parents with everything from diagnosis to what is ABA. It's very exciting. And I'm an autism mom. That's how I really know and love this topic. There's nothing like getting your hands dirty and you learn by doing. So a lot of what I'm talking about today, what happens after high school, I had to learn the hard way. I learned it by making phone calls, networking, talking with people, trying to figure out my path for my own son, who, when he graduated from high school, or was about to graduate, I didn't know where he was going to go. So, so this talk is based on my knowledge as a mom. The first thing you have to think about, is when you get to, what is my kid going to do after high school? If he's not ready or she's not ready for college or work, how do we think about things? We need a whole new mindset. We need to think about things differently than other parents because our kids are different and their paths are going to be different. The first thing we should do is really get educated about the opportunities out there. Are there kids in school maybe getting tons of information about, colleges? Typical kids are all getting pushed to the 4-year colleges. There's more options for our kids, and it's going to involve doing a little research, attending webinars like this one and others in your community. You should know what the opportunities are. And you should know your kid. You got to know your kid really well in order to make the best choices. What is his or her passions? What are they good at? What do they like doing? What are their strengths? What are their weaknesses? Because that will help determine what path you take going forward. Are they able to, can you imagine them living in a dorm and getting to a class on time by themselves? Can you imagine them writing a term paper on Play-Doh? Or do you see them really enjoying working in a store, helping people and socializing with people in the community? There's a lot to know about your kid, and you should do it by having conversations with your child, and you should work with your child's study team. Make sure all the evaluations are up to date, and really think those important aspects of your child's personality. Make sure you've thought that through. And you have to think creatively. Our kids are different, so we have to create unique plans. It may not be graduate at 18, go to college at 18. It may be finish high school, then go to a transition program, then start off taking some classes at a community college, then getting a job. It might just be different, They're all going to have their own paths, but it may not be exactly what everybody else is doing in the high school. And that's okay. I think more kids, typical, untypical, we all college isn't right for everybody. And we shouldn't put all people on the same conveyor belt. We all there's more options than ever before. I want all kids to have options. We should think strategically, because who knows what our kids are really going to do. My kid changed between 18 and 22 so much. What he's doing now, he's attending actually a school for autism in Vermont. He's going to a school called Landmark. I could not have predicted that at age 18. So he made progress. He's at this great school. I'll talk about that in a little bit. I suggest parents come up with a good, the best case scenario and the worst case scenario, especially if you're starting early, like in middle school. So prepare for both. We don't know, our kids are going to change. So for me, my worst case scenario was that he was never going to be able to work or go to college. And so he was always going to need some government help. So I applied for all the government benefits. And the best case scenario was that he was going to go to college. So guess what? He's going to college, and I have all the government benefits at the same time, just in case he can't work after college. So I have that security. The other thing that we all need to do, and again, not just special ed parents, we all might need to start early. And that's a growing trend in education, to start thinking about long-term plans, even in middle school. Of course, we don't know when our kid is 13 what they're really going to be doing at 18. But let's start thinking this through. Start having that best case, worst case scenario. Think about what you need to do. If you really think that your child is college bound, then you have to start that process in 8th grade, making sure they're taking the right classes and everything. Let's see here. Okay, so let's talk about what I'm going to talk about tonight, all the different pathways. There's college. There's college with different kinds of help. There's employment. Again, not everybody has to go to college. You can work afterwards. We're going to talk about the different avenues for work. There's 18 to 21 transition programs out there. I'm going to give a little overview about what those are. And then there's the government support programs. I'm based in New Jersey, So the state system's a little different from what you guys have, but everybody starts the same way with SSI, and we'll talk about that. So a traditional college program is a 4-year program, right? University of Maryland, Rutgers, Princeton, Dartmouth, Columbia. These are all 4-year colleges, right? Students can attend in different ways at these 4-year colleges. All 4-year colleges have something called an Office of Disability Services. And if your child has a disability, what they would do is register with the Office of Disability Services before starting college, and this department will provide some help for the students. They won't get the sort of same help that you enjoy in high school, because again, not again, for the first time, there's no IEPs in college. Once you leave the public school system, IEPs are gone. So, but you can still get some help in college, every college has this Office of Disability Services. They provide the most common forms of help are extra time on tests in a special room to take a test. Every college offers that sort of help. And then other colleges add a little bit more, like maybe they'll provide note-taking help. All colleges have tutoring centers that you can take advantage of. There's counseling services. These are standard at every college. Community colleges. I love community colleges. We're going to talk about a little bit more about them in a second, but those are yet another option. These are 2-year schools that offer both associate's degree and certificate programs. And then there's trade schools. So these are traditional college programs, and I'm going to go in a little bit more depth into them. The most important thing to keep in mind is there are no IEPs in college. Parents can't get involved. Just can't. You can't call the professor. Make sure your kid's doing okay. There's testing. There could be testing to get into the schools. And unless you're in a very specialized program, there's no aides in the classroom for the students. So again, the basic disability services, like this is the website at Rutgers. The extra time on tests. What you do is you go through a process of getting something called a letter of accommodations, and it gives the professor a heads up that the student might have some mild needs and needs some extra help. This is really good for students with dyslexia, anxiety, some mild ADHD. These are the profile of students that really can take advantage of this sort of help. It can be difficult to fill out all this paperwork, so the parent really does need to step in, at least in the beginning, and help the student get through this. And the student has to ask for the help. They have to, the help is at college, but nobody's going to just give you the help. The student has to go and walk into an office and say, hey, I need some help with this essay. And then there's going to be people who can step in. Community colleges, I call them opportunities next door. Okay. I read some statistic, like the vast majority of students who are neurodivergent start at a community college. The advantage of these community colleges is that it's good for kids who are not ready to go away and live in a dorm yet. They're very affordable. There is a lot of quirky people on a community college campus. My kids started off there, and I'd walk through the campus and I'm like, oh, he's got autism, she's got autism. It's just it's a very inclusive place, which is really nice. There's a lot of online offerings at these community colleges also, which is an excellent way to also baby step into college, is by taking advantage of some of those offerings. The classes are relatively affordable. The college class down the street from me, it's like $700 for the semester, which is a lot of money, but it's not the end of the world if the student, doesn't make it that first semester, needs an extra chance. There's also a lot of funding that you can get for community colleges. New Jersey has something called the New Jersey STARS program that offers a lot of aid. So those are some you know, great advantages of these programs. The problems are that, you know, their community colleges are traditionally not funded well enough, and so they may not have the full diversity of classes that you would see at a four-year college. Some of the professors are just so busy, they can't offer a lot of hands-on help. Um, if for students who really want to interact with other kids, it can be, um, you know, there's fewer social opportunities, but there's still clubs and everything. Our local community college is a video game club, um, you know, foreign language clubs. There is a lot of clubs that you can take advantage of, but you don't get that social environment of a dorm. There's alternatives now. These are all brand new. So what I gave you first was the traditional four-year college, community college, and trade schools, which I'll talk about a little bit more when I talk about employment. Now there are more opportunities for kids who don't fit the traditional package. Okay. There are special autism programs within traditional colleges. So for example, there's a four-year college down, you know, about 20 minutes from my house called Ramapo College. They have another program within it called the Enhanced program that's just for students with autism. Parents pay an extra $8,000 a year, and then the program helps the students ease into college. They've got counseling for the kids. They've got special Friday night social activities. They've got mentors. There's transition programs. I'm going to go over all these colleges for, especially for students with intellectual disabilities. We've got autism colleges. There's a lot more going on. So here's that Ramapo Enhanced program. Yeah, so you can it's not at every college. You have to shop around. My website has a few of the programs there. There's other places on the internet where you can find the list of all these special programs. They're like add-ons. You have to get into the college on your own steam, but these programs come in and offer an extra layer of support when you're there. They offer tutoring, peer mentors, special social groups. They can help with the support with the job process afterwards. These are really nice programs that are happening across the country. Every state has them now. Okay. Downsides of these programs, it's an extra cost. So like Ramapo, I think cost, full rate with dorm like 25,000, and then plus you have to pay 8,000 on top of it. There are college programs now for students with intellectual disabilities as well. This is a new thing that has been come up in the past few years. Students typically don't get a BA or an associate's degree, but they can live on campus and they'll end up getting a certificate. There's special classes that are offered in these programs where students might take classes on social skills, on money management, on career opportunities that are offered by special faculty. And then they'll help the students get a job on campus, like working in the dorm, like working in taking IDs to get into the dining hall, or greeting students as they enter the student center. It's the profile of kid who works there, who thrives in this environment is like a very social kid who may not be, academic, but have great social skills and just want to be around other kids. The Think College website really specializes. Think College is a great group, a great organization that focuses really on the students with that intellectual and developmental disability profile. They have they list all the programs on their website. Yeah, it's actually really inspiring when you talk to the people who run these programs. They're like, they're all about that a college campus should reflect a greater community. It should, and towns. It shouldn't be just, one type of kid on a college campus. Towns include all types of people, including with people with disabilities. And we want to have our college kids exposed to, all types of people. The College of New Jersey is a really great program. There are special colleges for autism and other disabilities. Landmark College in Vermont, Beacon College in Florida are two very prominent examples. They focus on kids with a range of disabilities. It's high functioning autism. I'm not supposed to say a level 1 autism. It could be a little level 2, but students have to be somewhat academically proficient and be able to get themselves out of bed and get to class independently. Students with dyslexia, that's how Landmark started. It was a college just for students with dyslexia, ADHD, executive function problems. So as I was saying, my son attends one of these, the school in Vermont. We were just up there for Parents Weekend. And you see everybody, you see on one side, you got the kind of autistic kid who's sitting there with his headphones in the cafeteria. There are people coming in with their therapy dogs. It's a very inclusive school, and it's a real college campus. It gives kids who would ordinarily wouldn't be able to go to college that experience. They go to the dorm, they live in a dorm, they take real classes, they can earn associate's degrees and bachelor's degrees. They can improve their skills there and then transfer to another school. I'm thrilled. My son is doing great there. Another option for parents are 18 to 21 programs or transition programs, and they are offered in a variety of places. Public schools, there's private programs, and there's programs within college on some college campuses. The idea of a transition program is to help bring up the skills of students who are not quite ready to go to college or work, and also to help students whose future may be a day program and more supportive setting. Not all students with IEPs are eligible for the public school kind. You really need to have a certain profile. Most of the public school programs, there's some, like every school does it differently. I'm sure, Maryland has their own flavor of transition programs. But in general, what they do is they help students either get internships in town at like the pizza place, or they help, some programs will help with some college readiness. Usually they focus on functional skills. So instead of doing a math class, the students may learn how to read a menu and do some menu math, or have reading and writing skills that would help them in the workplace. And I'm just checking my time. The private programs, there's private schools that do this as well. They have much more comprehensive offerings, but they're expensive. The way you get, you would hold off getting your high school diploma till you're 21 if you go to a public school program. The advantages of these programs, if you stay in the public schools, it buys you some time. They're free and you can retain your IEP. For me, my son, when he left high school, because it was the middle of COVID, he had a lot of regression, and we put him in a transition program, and it helped him regain some of the social skills that he lost during COVID. It's something to consider. By going to a transition program, it can really help with some of the skills that the public schools didn't have the time to focus in on high school. So you can work on more, some of the soft skills that are necessary to really thrive in your next step. Some of the private school programs that you can look at are, well, here, Riverview in Cape Cod, it's super expensive, straight up. It's like $100,000 a year, and parents pay for this out of their pocket, but it's a lovely program, lots of opportunities. If you've got family money, it's worth taking a look at. They have a range of kids there with a whole bunch of different types of backgrounds. Students at this school can take classes at Cape Cod Community College. They also help train the students for employment. So there are summer programs. I love these summer programs. You can start doing them in high school. A lot of these autism programs and colleges offer summer programs now too. Landmark, Beacon, whatever your local college is, look to see if they have a specialized summer program to help get the student skills up. Some of them have sleepaway opportunities to get the kids ready for dorm life, see if they like it, see how it works out. And there's online offerings too. So you don't even have to do the dorms. Like this one at Rutgers, they have an online boot camp that you can do. Employment, that's the end goal for everything. That's what we want. Whether you go to college or not, everybody, we want people working. Working makes people happy, gives us a purpose in life. And so how do we do it? How do we do it with, you've got disabilities? There's a lot of different routes, and depends on your kid, depends on your kid's abilities and interests. I'm just going to give you a quick overview right now. We have community colleges. Community colleges are a great way, an inexpensive way for our kids to get skills on a whole range of things. You can do it. They've got, my local community college has got training on everything from nursing to hotel management to even just, learning how to change beds so you can work in a hotel. They've got everything. And you can do it with an associate's degree for some majors, or you can get just even a certificate where this, if you're doing, you can get a certificate in, like I said, in maintaining hotel rooms, and that could help you get that first job. There's a lot of different opportunities, and you should always explore that community college catalog because it's an affordable way to get some training. Oops. Every state has, not every state, most states have a department called the Department of Vocational Rehabilitation. It's a really clumsy name. But it's money that comes from the federal government to each one of the states, and it's supposed to help young people get their first jobs. I mean, they do it in a couple different ways. They can provide job training. Not direct. What they tend to do is work with third parties to help students learn how to make their resume, apply for jobs. They can do like tests to see what their interests are, what their levels, what their needs are, and they can help the student get their first job. They can provide job coaches. So if a student wanted to work, let's say at Home Depot, which is actually a fantastic place. They have a great program at Home Depot for students with disabilities. But the vocational rehabilitation in Maryland, it's called DOORS. In New Jersey, it's DBRS. But most states have this function. You just give them a call. It's a pretty easy application process. They can provide a job coach for your child to go on this first job to give them some help. What they can't do is they can't create jobs out of the blue. So that's one limitation. A job actually has to exist for them to provide some help. There are private technical schools, also known as trade schools. And in the past, I would have said, don't put a trade school on your list. They don't have any help for people with disabilities. But things are kind of shifting. I had a great talk with a local trade school called Eastwick College. It's not really a college, it is a trade school. And he said that while they don't formally have programs to help people with disabilities, he says that there are kids with disabilities all over the school. Like they have a program, for example, on cybersecurity. He said that tons of kids with Asperger's in that program, tons. You don't need the same reading and writing background to thrive there. And these trade schools offer really nice careers in careers that actually have jobs waiting. My typical kid's got a BA from Rutgers with a political science degree and is like waiting tables right now. If you go to these trade schools, they will put you in a job like you're trained for a job that exists, and they will help you get that job. So like this local trade school does a lot of stuff with medical technology, like reading those sonograms. Those jobs start at like 80 grand. And you can be, you got a 14-month degree and you can be employed. So, don't discount them. What they won't be good at is they can't handle like behavioral issues at those programs, but mild learning disabilities, mild autism, they can totally handle it. And then there's these 18 to 21 programs that I mentioned before. They are very career oriented, and they help provide internships in your local town, which I really love, because our kids, we want them to be part of our community someday. And so if they can get an internship at the local supermarket, maybe that will turn into a real job down the line. Jimmy, am I doing okay for time or need to talk faster?
Oh no, you're doing fine for time.
Okay.
We've got plenty of time. So
Okay.
go at your own pace.
I'm a pace. All right, good. Let's talk about money. Okay. This is for everybody. This is for everybody. All right. This is no matter what level your kid is at. And I actually want everybody, I know there's parents here whose kids are younger and you're like, why are we talking about this now? You got to know what's happening down the line, and you actually even need to start preparing by freshman year of high school. So the first step for everybody, whether you're Maryland or Jersey, is to start at the SSI. That's where you're going to start. Social Security, so supplemental security income. This program is aimed at adults aged 18 years and older. The individual has to have less than $2,000 in savings. Doesn't matter how much money you make, because the child at age 18, they're no longer a child, they're an adult, but they can't have any money in their name. So if you put aside a whole bunch of birthday money for your child and it's a bank account in their name, get rid of that. Put it in a special account in your name, or you can set up a special needs trust, but I still that's another topic. They have to have a documented disability. They need to have some paperwork from the government, from a doctor or from a school saying the student has autism, has a intellectual disability, has OCD, has bipolar disorder, has cognitive issues, has got whatever it is. You want the paperwork for it. You want the doctor's notes. You need that. You need to prove. You can't just tell the government, my kid's disabled. They're going to say, prove it. So you start getting that information together. I would even start again, make sure you have that. Start working on that while they're in high school. The amount of money that Social Security brings in is about $650 a month or $7,800 a year. It's a lot of work to get this paperwork, to get this done. I've heard some experts say you should just expect that you're going to have to hire a lawyer. Sometimes it takes 2 or 3 times to get Social SSI, but once you get it, it's worth it. It provides a lot of security in the long run, and it opens the doors for state benefits, as I'll explain, which can be substantial. So, to receive SSI, a person must be so disabled that they can't work enough to earn substantial gainful activity. Okay, that's the government word, substantial gainful activity. What is that? Okay, I mean, I'll go into more details in a second, but really it means, according to the government, that you are so disabled you couldn't work a job that paid $1,620 a month. So basically, that's like a part-time job at McDonald's. So if you can't imagine your child working a job at McDonald's, I mean, and McDonald's is a tough job. It's a tough job. Can you imagine your child sitting behind the counter, making change, answering questions of a crazy people come into these stores drunk? Could your child handle that? Could your child avoid talking about their interests? Could they just focus on burgers and fries? Or are they going to want to talk about trains? Are they going to be able to stand on their feet physically for 5 to 8 hours? Are they going to listen to a boss? Are they going to call their boss stupid? If any one of those questions is a no, then that means they can't work and they are eligible for this SSI. When you're filling out the paperwork, important ways to think. You have to, and this is so like not natural, you have to say bad things about your kids. You have to fill out the paperwork with thinking about them on their worst day with no support. So there's gonna be like, when you go through this process of getting SSI, there's 3 steps to it. First is just a basic form where you've got to fill out, social security numbers, address, dates, that sort of thing. Then the next set of forms will be questions. And the questions were going to be aimed at determining how disabled your child is. So a sample question might be, can your child eat breakfast on their own? Yes or no? And you're filling this out for your child. So also it's a little confusing because the questions are also going to be all based on the first, like in the first person questions. Can you answer or second person? But you're answering the questions for your child. And when I was first filling this form out, I was working with a social worker and to get some help. And I came to this question, and can your child eat breakfast on their own? Yes or no? And I'm like, yeah, he will get himself some Cheerios in the morning. And she said, yeah, can he really eat breakfast on his own? She's like, who buys that cereal? And I'm like, I do. Do you set up the cereal on the same shelf every day? I'm like, yeah. Who puts the bowl in the dishwasher? I'm like, I do. Who buys the milk? I do. Do you buy a particular brand of cereal every week? What happens if there isn't any cereal on that shelf? Would he not eat that breakfast that day? And I answered all those questions, and it showed me that he can eat breakfast on his own. He can eat breakfast without my help. And so that's how you should fill out the paperwork to get while you're applying for services. I also suggest when you're doing these paperwork for both SSI and for the state that you get a little help from somebody who's done it before. It can be another parent. It could be, I was lucky enough to get access to a free social worker through my county. Some of the organizations, there's every state has an ARC of New Jersey, ARC. They provide free training and support for parents to fill out this paperwork. It's a pain in the butt. I'm just going to be straight up. it's a pain, but it is worth it. It provides you and your child with a lot of support in the future. The next step in the process, after you get through SSI, and hopefully you get through in the first try, and sometimes you do, sometimes you don't, but eventually you'll get through. The child will automatically be enrolled in Medicaid. You don't even have to fill out any extra paperwork. It's just an automatic system. Medicaid is a joint funded federal state health insurance program for low income and disabled people. We can talk about politics at the end of the presentation. We're assuming that it's all going to be not touched, but as it is of today, what happens is the federal government will hand over money to the states for disability services. So it's more than just health insurance. Medicaid provides the funding for your state programs also. In New Jersey, the state program is administered by the Division of Developmental Disabilities. In Maryland, it's the DDA. These state programs, like I can't go into the details on the Maryland program, but pretty much they all sort of work the same of how you apply for it and how they work. Little differences and how much money you get paid in different states. But pretty much what happens is, so the federal government gets you through the first hurdle of SSI, then you go to Medicaid, then the money goes to the state, and then you fill out another set of paperwork. I'm so sorry. After that first set of paperwork to get approved, you're going to have to do it again for the state. Same idea. You got to show, that your child is disabled. You have to talk about them on their worst day. It might take another year. But it's not like you're doing work every day. What happens is you do a bunch of work one day, you send it out, put your copy of what you've done in a folder, and then the state will eventually get back to you. So it's a lot of do work, wait, do work, wait. What happens? You're going to get another set of funding that will help fund more stuff. SSI pretty much, with just $600 a month, it can help provide a lot of help with, food and classes and all sorts of other programs. The state program will go further. It will provide funding for day programs, should your child need that. It can provide programs for therapy, for speech therapy, for social skills, funding for the caretakers. Yeah, you can pay yourself that to watch your child if the child needs it, and you would rather keep that child at home rather than sending them off to a program. The state will pay the parents to watch over. And what these programs also do is it provides help should things really go wrong. I mean, something could happen to us. We're not going to be around forever. And it can provide social workers that can step in if an emergency should step, if something should happen to us. And we always have to think that way. We have to protect ourselves. So the way we should think about transition is we got to plan it out. We got to plan it out long term. Okay. I'd like to chunk big projects. It's the best way to, handle term papers or anything. So let's chunk this transition process. Start your freshman year of high school. Work with your child study team to really get a good sense of where your kid is at all sorts of levels. Reading, math, cognitive skills, behavioral issues, and don't forget those behavioral issues, those soft skills are so important going forward. So important no matter what your path. And so get a sense of what they need, where their strengths are and what the holes are. Come up with your plan A and plan B and work with your child study team to try and create a transition plan. It's going to be a rough draft. But you know what? It helps you to start to think about what the next plan is. And that's it. You know, that's a doable plan for freshman year. In your sophomore and junior year, I didn't even talk about this, but there are legal chores that you need to deal with. And not every family needs to do them, but you might need to change your will. You might need to set up a special needs trust and guardianship. And I'm not an attorney, so I can't give anybody legal advice on these issues. If you feel like your child might need some extra help and will need ongoing support from you, I suggest reaching out to an attorney and seeing what the best plan is for you. I got guardianship of my son. He has epilepsy, and I wanted to make sure, should he end up in the hospital, that I could have, be able to work directly with his doctors. Make sure that there's no money in a bank account under your child's name. So that way they're set up for Social Security. Keep reassessing those the transition plan. Every IEP's got a transition plan. Go look at it. You know, if your child's goal is to work with animals, what classes is he taking to help him reach that goal? How is his social soft skills? Could he work at a veterinarian's office or in pet grooming? Does he understand how to use money? Whatever the goal is, make sure that you think through, what does he or she need to do to be successful? Okay. I would avoid accepting any paid employment if Social Security is the plan. Do the internships, unpaid internships, until you're through SSI. Keep making sure that you get the medical evaluations from medical professionals about whether, if OCD is an issue, autism. Make sure you not only just have autism, if that's the main diagnosis, make sure you get all the other sub issues, dysgraphia, every little tiny thing. That will come in handy. So get all those pieces of paper together. So I'm giving you 2 years to make those to do that. Plenty of time. Senior year of high school. Now this is crunch time for everybody. It's crunch time for typical families and for families like ours. If the student turns 18, start the SSI application process. If college is an option, start touring the different programs and going on college tours and making sure you ask questions. If you're looking at four-year colleges and you're still going to need some supports on campus, go to that disability office and go ask them and say, my student, he's really good at math, but he needs help with writing. Can you help him here with that? Hear what they have to say. You gotta have to ask questions and go see things in person. Might have to study. If they're gonna want to be a full-time student at a community college, they actually have to take an entrance exam. It's called an AccuPlacer test. Community colleges are not test optional if you want to get an associate's degree. If you're going to get a certificate, you won't have to take the test. But if you're planning on doing the associate's degree, you have to do a reading and math placement test, and you can still come in if you don't do well, but you have to take remedial classes. If the next step right after high school is to go to college, make sure you do your final triennial evaluation then, because the colleges will ask for those evaluations if you're going to get special services. And again, just until you're through with that SSI process, avoid paid employment. We don't want to give government any excuse for rejecting a person. But transition doesn't end. It doesn't end in high school. It keeps going. And you know what? my typical kid, he's still transitioning. The 20s are a period of transitioning for a lot of people. I was not fully cooked probably until like I was 30. And that's the same thing for, everybody. So you got to think about this as, you're not done at 18. We're not done with any of our kids. So after you get into SSI, the ages from 19 to 21, then you're going to choose to work with Medicaid. You might have to answer one question, what insurance company you want to work with. I picked Aetna. You're going to start working on for New Jersey, it's called DDD. With Maryland, it's the DDA, I guess. You can work with that vocational rehabilitation department for employment and support for education and training. Some states, vocational rehabilitation will pay for college. Pay for college. I'm giving you guys a secret. They don't like to let you know, but they will. They're paying $30,000 for my son to go to Landmark. So it really depends on the school, on the state, and sometimes, unfortunately, depends on who picks up the phone. But always ask about that. And then you want to learn about other support systems. SNAP, housing vouchers. There's a lot of other supports that exist out there for our kids. So you're going to start working on that. And then we're just going to let our kids thrive. They're going to grow. They're going to either be growing in transition programs or at work or at college. And you're going to see huge changes. Huge changes. Because sometimes a developmental disability delay is just that. Like they just need a little more time to cook. So you're going to see big changes. And then between 21 and 30, you're going to keep growing, building independence, either in colleges or other programs. They're going to be working on establishing a fulfilling, independent life for themselves within a community. It'd be, my goal is for my son to we'll get a housing voucher for him and to get an apartment in our downtown. My house is like too far in the suburbs. There's nowhere for him to walk and he can't drive. So I wanted him to have a apartment in a downtown setting. And you're going to start to transition out of college, out of learning programs, and more into employment. And so that will always be going on. They'll be starting to settle into their recreation. That becomes part of the process too. And so a lot of these state programs will help pay for gym programs, social groups, all sorts of things. So we want our kids to have a fulfilling life that's full of all the good things that make us thrive: jobs, independence, recreation. So we're going to be helping them to build that. You can learn about ABLE programs so our kids can work and still hold on to some of their government benefits. And the way to do that is to take any of their earnings and put it in an ABLE program. But I'm not going to go into details about that. I would prefer if people reached out to financial advisors to give information on that. But that's also available. Just because you're getting a government benefit does not mean that you can't work. Ideally, you do both. And then, you're going to start arranging your own personal parental finances properly to ensure that you have maximum support for all of your adult children. Is your will in order? Are you saving up money for them in a special way? Make sure that, I do like a special needs trust. It's very handy way to, after you pass, your money and your will can go to a special needs trust. Some financial advisors suggest using life insurance program policies, but again, I can't give financial advice because I'm not a CPA. So that would be a question that you can ask a professional. So again, I'm Laura McKenna. I've got my own company here dealing with the Autism College Connection. We're going to be doing a presentation on March 5th just on transition programs. I'm going to highlight some programs that are available. in the Northeast. So I'm not sure how much that would be of interest to people in Maryland, but you could always check it out. And then we're going to take a little pause for a month or two as we help build up this autism center here in northern New Jersey. It's going to have, I'll be doing Zoom. It's going to have a full service support. We've got a team of people who are going to be helping parents with all their questions from ABA to college. So